You're typing right now, maybe on a phone, maybe on a laptop. Turns out, the first typewriter in 1868 had its keys in alphabetical order, until a Denver newspaper editor named Amos Densmore pointed out typists were crashing faster than a Zoom call with bad Wi-Fi. Picture this. It's 1867, and you're typing on the world's first writing machine.
Aha, Doodles.
The keys aren't plastic squares, they're metal arms, each with a letter stamped on the end. Type too fast, and those arms collide like rush hour traffic. The machine jams. Ink smudges. Your masterpiece turns into a mess, not to help you type faster, but to slow you down. And that's how QWERTY was born. A layout designed to keep those metal arms from crashing. So there it is, QWERTY, the keyboard that's still with us 150 years later. But who was the guy who actually sold it to the world? Christopher Sholes, this brilliant tinkerer, built his first typewriter in 1868 with keys that looked like a piano. Because who said productivity couldn't be musical? By 1878, he'd patented QWERTY and struck a deal with Remington. Yes, the gun company. Turns out, they were the only ones with the machines precise enough to build it. So Remington, yes, the gun folks, rebranded their sewing machine factory in Ilion, New York, to crank out these noisy new gadgets. Picture this, 1874, New York. A Remington salesman sets up a race. Typewriter vs. handwriting. The typewriter wins. Of course it does. But the crowd, they don't care about the truth. Turns out, Remington was also a gun company. So selling the future was sort of their brand, like Apple selling magic today. So overnight, QWERTY wasn't just a keyboard. It was the keyboard. And Sholes, he'd already sold the patent. For a lump sum. Which, honestly, probably for the best. Turns out, Sholes' pal James Densmore gave Remington $12,000 to mass-produce the typewriter. Cha-ching. Sholes' 1873 Remington model swapped keys to stop jams, like a parent locking the cookie jar so kids wouldn't sprint. By 1932, typists were banging out 80 words a minute, while their wrists silently screamed for a better keyboard layout. Enter Dr. August Dvorak, a psychologist, not an inventor. And he's got a question. What if the keyboard wasn't fighting you? What if it actually helped? Dvorak spent years studying how people type. He measured finger movement, counted keystrokes, even tracked which letters we use most. Turns out, QWERTY makes you stretch for common letters like A and E, while your strongest fingers just sit there. So he built a better one, the Dvorak Simplified Keyboard. Common letters right under your fingertips. Your strongest fingers do the heavy lifting. Typing speed. Up. Fatigue. Down. It was like switching from a rusty old bike to a smooth, oiled machine. The Navy gave Dvorak a shot in 1944. Typists crushed their QWERTY rivals, like Pac-Man gobbling dots. Yet the U.S. Navy ditched it after the test, citing difficulty retraining sailors who'd learned QWERTY in civilian life. Turns out even the U.S. General Services Administration tested Dvorak in 1944 and found typists could hit 74% more words per minute, like swapping a tricycle for a Tesla. But don't feel too bad for Dvorak, because his keyboard did get one last moment in the sun, and it came from the most unlikely place. World War II. Turns out the U.S. Navy was so desperate to speed up wartime typing, they secretly tested Dvorak on battleships, like swapping your phone's keyboard layout mid-text to your crush. The Soviets looked at QWERTY and scoffed. We can do better. So they designed JQWERTY, faster for Cyrillic, they claimed. Here's the thing, JQWERTY was more efficient. Fewer finger stretches, smoother typing. On paper, it crushed QWERTY, but the Soviet Union had a problem. A big one. Everyone already knew QWERTY. So in 1956, they tried to force the switch. Government decree, JQWERTY is law. The result? Chaos. Typists rebelled. Productivity crashed. And within years, the decree was quietly dropped. Even the Cold War's typing Olympics proved the point. Soviet typists trained on JQWERTY. But when they faced the West, they switched to QWERTY and still won. Turns out, in 1956, East Germany's state typewriter factory did try to force a JQWERTY revival, only to scrap it after workers revolted like it was a Windows 8 update. Meanwhile, in 1936, August Dvorak patented his ABC layout. So efficient, the Navy tested it on 25 typists who whizzed like autocorrect. Yet in 1956, the General Services Administration ran a showdown. Dvorak typists outpaced QWERTY by 35%, but the GSA still stuck with the old keys, calling it too costly to retrain Uncle Sam's 5,000 clerks. By 1983, IBM's Selectric Roman III typewriter, yes, the one with the golf ball head, offered a Dvorak ball but sold only 42 units before quietly vanishing like a fad diet. Microsoft Windows let you switch to Dvorak with one click. Apple's first Macs had it built in. But here's the catch, almost no one did. Then there's the network effect, like trying to switch the world to driving on the left side of the road. Even if it's better, no one wants to be the only one doing it. Yet touchscreens inherited QWERTY Ghost. iPhones in 2007 shipped with it preloaded, proving even rebellious tech bows to tradition. Sholes' typewriter jammed with alphabet order, so he rearranged letters to slow typists down, like a traffic cop for fingers. By 1873, Remington and Sons, yes, the gun guys, snapped up QWERTY, stamping it on 5,000 typewriters like a made-in-history sticker. You're sitting at a desk in Tokyo, fingers flying over keys. The letters look familiar, QWERTY's still there. But wait, next to them, tiny symbols crowd the board like rush-hour commuters. Those symbols, they're kana, Japan's phonetic alphabet. And in the 1980s, companies like NEC and Fujitsu decided QWERTY alone wasn't enough. They wanted a keyboard built for Japanese, so they invented JIS, the Japanese industrial standard, a keyboard that could switch between QWERTY and kana with a single key press. Revolutionary, right? But Japan's typists still clung to QWERTY, like insisting on chopsticks for spaghetti, until kanji input software made it obsolete. Then Microsoft showed up. Early versions of Windows let you switch layouts with a click. But here's the catch. Most people didn't bother. Turns out, even Windows 95's shiny new interface couldn't convince typists to abandon their QWERTY muscle memory, like trying to teach your grandma to tick-tock dance. So JIS became a niche. Today, you'll still find it in some offices, but QWERTY, it's the default, even in Japan. But here's the kicker. The U.S. Navy tried to ban QWERTY in 1944 for its new electric typewriters. Yet QWERTY still won. You're tapping away on that same old grid of letters, QWERTY, without even thinking. Sholes and his pal, printer Carlos Glidden, hacked together the first working model in 1868, using a telegraph key, a piano wire, and a butter dish from Glidden's Milwaukee kitchen. But in 1873, Remington, yes, the gun folks bought the rights, slapping the QWERTY layout onto their first commercially sold typewriter like a brand new lasso. Even IBM's 1961 Selectric, ball as round as a bowling trophy, spun only QWERTY, so every office sounded like a tiny steel rainstorm. The one place it's finally fading. Touchscreens. No physical keys means no jams, no reason to keep the old layout. Even Apple's iPad Pro, sold as the future of typing, ships with a QWERTY keyboard that looks like it time-traveled from 1878. Then in 1936, August Dvorak patented his alphabet-rearranged layout, only for the Navy to test it in 1944 and still side with QWERTY time-tested swagger. Turns out the U.S. government even ran a 1951 study to compare QWERTY and Dvorak, and still picked the old-school rebel.